wake up looking in the mirror, wondering who is looking back. I'm so lost with myself, I just can't understand. I say one thing and then do another. My life is set without a plan. If only I could live for the future instead of living in the now. Let's go back and try and do it right. Who said we can't? Let's make the time to work it out. I know that I can do better with the help from someone who knows just what went wrong. Let's start again.
G'day guys, Bucky here. Welcome to another episode of My Blue Heaven. I thought I might just give you a few minutes of this beautiful old, well, not beautiful old place. Well, it is an old place, but it's a new stadium, the MCG, the home of football, which quite frankly hasn't been the same this season. It's been empty, not just obviously the ground, you know, the spectator viewing area, but the concourse, you know, the food stores down below, the bars, the restaurants around here, you know, the streaming of people coming into the ground, it just hasn't been the same. And to think now with all the teams, all our Victorian teams going off to the hubs, this could be the last time that we see this ground being used, and also Marvel Stadium for the rest of the season, which makes me pretty emotional. I'm not quite sure about you, but yeah, I thought I'd just share that with you. I'm just about to leave. I want to talk about a few things about Carlton. I had them all planned, but I'm going to do those in the morning, so I'll be back in the morning. But I'll just add this onto the front. But I did find this. Fixture. This is, I mean, you all would have received this fridge magnet fixture in your membership packs at the start of the year, and I just found this in my bag before, and I thought, oh, I wonder who we were supposed to be playing. And I had a look. We were supposed to be playing today, July the 5th, the Gold Coast Suns at Metricon Stadium, and believe it or not, it was supposed to be round 16. Wow, that's heading towards the end of the season, and we're only up to round 5, just completed round 5. Too bizarre to think about. I'll be back tomorrow to have a bit of a chat about a few issues that I'd like to talk about, but I just thought I'd jump on now and show you the MCG for the last time, maybe for the whole year. G'day guys, that didn't take long, did it? Straight from the magnificent MCG, albeit a lonely one at the moment, to the My Blue Heaven Batcave. And I might just move across there. I'm trying to frame that jumper in the background, but I'm unable to do it. But have a look at that beauty there, eh? Our famous jumper hanging proudly on my wall out here. Yeah, absolutely love it. If you clicked on this video because of the thumbnail and the title, expecting me to, I suppose, get on here with a bit of a rant about where we're at in regards to sort of starting all over again, and I apologise, I'm not going to do that. If it was misleading, that was my intention. It was my intention, and I'm not going to apologise about that. And I suppose at times I'm the product of modern media and modern football media with clickbait. But for this, and I don't generally do it, but for this video, I think I needed to. And I think this could be one of the more important videos I've done since I started this channel, geez, I don't know, 18 months back. So bear with me. If you want to switch off now, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that I got as much, I suppose, exposure to this video as I could, because I think hopefully this will resonate. Okay, hopefully. And you all have your own opinion about where we're heading. and that's fine as well. So I will appreciate any comments below, as I usually do. Some of you have just got, or most of you got some fantastic knowledge about our football club, so I really appreciate all that feedback that I do get, and I apologise if I don't get back to you. So on reflection, we're just hearing all the time, unprecedented times, etc., etc., and they are. As our boys have hopped on a plane, headed up to the Gold Coast for an extended period in the hub, and who knows whether we're going to see them back here in Melbourne again. Who knows? Okay, we know that is just uncertain. And it's a bit like an empty nest feeling for me. It's almost like we've lost another part of our club. Not being able to go to the football is one thing, but we've always had that, I suppose, that thing that they've been here in Melbourne at our spiritual home, training at Princes Park, but now they're in this sort of foreign place, playing all games against Victorian clubs on foreign grounds. That just takes it to another really weird level. But this isn't about that, okay? So on reflection, what am I reflecting on here? Now, a couple of things I do is, when I reflect, is usually going for a walk, and I go for 2 walks, one with the wife every Saturday morning, which I love. We chat about a lot of things, which is really important, but never about football. Okay, she doesn't particularly like football. I understand that, and we never discuss football. So where do I get time to reflect? I mean, you guys maybe toss and turn in bed, but my other real reflection time where I think about these videos, I think about where we're at as a football club, is when I walk the dog. And if you haven't got a dog, I suggest that you go get one, because it's a really good way of getting away from the house, a really good excuse to get away from the house. It's not like I'm heading down the pub with my mates. I'm taking the dog out for a walk, and it's usually met with a lot of positivity. So the beauty about walking the dog is I don't talk back. Other than tugging on the lead, you just walk and think. So what am I reflecting on here? So it's been an interesting start to the season. And no doubt the expectation is that we are starting to win games. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that pressure. And I think winning is important. But sometimes when we focus so much on winning, we take our mind off the bigger picture. And that's what I want to talk about in the second, is the bigger picture. But to David Teague's credit, if we're talking about winning, since he took over in round 12 last year, he's won 8 out of 16. Now, I think when he took over, if we could project to now, I think we would take that. Would we like to be a few more wins on the board? Of course. And my expectation, I suppose, and it will continue to be, that we are now in a position where we should be winning more games than we are losing. But I think sometimes when the expectations are that we are winning, as a supporter group, and I'm guilty of this as well, that we tend to ride the highs and lows of wins and losses to an extreme. And what happens there is that when we ride the highs, and being from a supporter group following a club that's been at the fucking bottom for so long, that when we ride the highs, we tend to not so much ignore the cracks, because I'm sure within the club they're not doing that, but as a supporter group, we tend to just think that there's nothing wrong, and that's okay. I think that's our right to do that. There's a few bragging rights. You beat Essendon last week. It's a few bragging rights. Suddenly, your young players are the best players in the world. Suddenly, someone like Mark Murphy's a champion of the football club, and he's just an absolute ripper. And Hope Simo goes on for an extra year. So you tend to just cover up those little cracks and the deficiencies that might be sort of brewing at the football club, or still there, not so much brewing, but is still there and need to be sorted out. And the same with a loss, okay? Because a loss, you go to the other extreme, suddenly the young players are no good. Sauce was no good as a recruiter. Teague can't coach. Get rid of Murphy, get rid of Simpson. Time to turn over the list, bring all the young guys in, and you take your eye off the bigger picture. And for me, this video is about the bigger picture. So when you lose, you bang into the wall that hard that those small cracks that are there become huge, okay? And that's not what it would be like inside the football club. I am sure of that. I think the club is realistic at where they're at. They have to sell us a message, and I think that message is really important. The last thing we want to be doing in the, say like year 5 or whatever we are of a rebuild is selling a message that we probably have such a long way to go. And we do. I'm the first to admit that we have a long way to go, and there are some deficiencies and gaping holes within our list, and also maybe some holes in the football department. But I am looking from a supporter base right here, right now at the bigger picture. And for me, the bigger picture is about what this looks like for us. Not now, because I am seeing good signs. Next year, obviously important, the year after important, but even more importantly than that is the bigger picture in 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years' time. And that's, for me, the most important thing. Not so much getting there as quick as you can, then falling, like a Melbourne who made a prelim final. Next thing you know, they're wooden spooners and really clearly struggling at the moment. And the same with a team like the Western Bulldogs, who had that magnificent rise where they won the 2016 grand final. It's been a struggle ever since. Although, the Doggies have still got a young enough list and some talent on the list that they're always going to be in the mix in winning games. But they clearly are behind the 8 ball once again. And then there's the example of someone like Adelaide, who made a grand final, and it's just been a fucking disaster ever since as well. So for me, it's all about sustainability. It's about stability. And once we are there, we need to remain there. Okay, and I'm not saying that every year, okay, it's fantasy land that every year we're going to win a grand final. Okay, that's not like that. They're so hard to win. But what I'm saying is that once we're in the position, okay, that we're in contention, and if we're able to win grand finals, that's the ultimate goal. But we need to make sure that we remain there. Okay, and I think we are building the platform underneath to make that happen, And I'm confident that we are doing that. And that's what I'm reflecting on at the moment. So the benchmarks in that regards are no doubt Hawthorn, Geelong, probably West Coast Eagles and Richmond. Okay, probably the more modern one in Richmond. We all understand now that those clubs are going to go through, periods of time where they might miss the finals. They're not going to be winning multiple premierships, but we know that they're going to be in the mix, and they give their supporters true hope. Okay, and that's what it's about for me, because they've embraced the modern game. Okay, what it looks like to be a successful club, culture, investing in young players, and more importantly, investing in development. So that's where I'm coming from here. I try to think of an analogy, and the only analogy I could come up with is your health. Okay, so if you're experiencing, you're overweight, you're not happy with the way you look, you put on weight, you're not attracted to the opposite sex, you feel like shit, skin's bad, you go to the doctors and they say, look, your blood pressure's high and your cholesterol's high and you're on the verge of getting type 2 diabetes and blah, blah, blah. If we continue along these lines, then, you could drop dead at 35 or 40. That'd be alarming for you as an individual. So there's a bigger picture with your health. And the bigger picture with your health is to sustain a healthy lifestyle, okay, so you can live long. Now, that doesn't necessarily say that things aren't going to happen out of your control along the way, that you're going to get sick. But your health in the bigger picture is, keeping away from the doctors, feeling good emotionally, socially, and physically. Okay, so the problem we have with some people with their health is that they go gun-ho, they get told that, you need to lose some weight, you need to exercise, you need to diet, and they fucking join the gym and they go on a fad diet, and suddenly after 4 weeks they've dropped 15 kilos, they look $1,000,000, they're getting compliments, they feel better, and then bang, before you know it, they've got sick of going to the gym, they have a bender on the piss, they fucking eat, shit food, next thing you know, they're back to square one, okay? To me, that's not sustainable. So the bigger picture should always be your health. So the smaller picture is getting the compliments, fitting into a wedding dress and looking good in your photos, taking your top off down the beach, etc., etc. They're the smaller pictures, and they might be important for a person's self-esteem. So I'm always looking at the bigger picture. Now, I also work in education. Okay, so that's something I do away from this. And one thing I do in education is I think it's really important that you invest time, okay, into every individual that you teach. It doesn't matter whether they are, okay, the smartest kid in the class, or the kid who've got, emotional or social or physical needs. You invest the same amount of time into each individual, and I think that's important. So I think where we've struggled, I think we embraced the draft. We embraced it. Okay, there's no doubt about that. And we were all supportive of it 5 years ago when we decided to completely rebuild. But there's obviously been some teething problems along the way. And this is not a list analysis exercise. Okay, I believe still that we have some serious problems within the list itself and the makeup of the list. But it's not necessarily about our youngsters. So the thumbnail that I put up of the buildings falling down with Harry Mackay and Sam Petrevski-Seton and Paddy Dow, okay, falling down, that we need to all start again with that, okay, that's completely misleading. I'm relatively happy where they're at, but we've got to understand these young players are still going to have their inconsistencies. Do we want them to progress a lot quicker than that? Now, bloody oath we do, but that's being impatient and probably not being realistic. Now, I hate to name drop, okay, but for the sake of this, I'm going to. But I reckon it was about 18 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, when I was working at the football at the MCG, and it was during the time when Bolton was in charge and we were clearly struggling, playing a lot of young players. There was questions about, whether we got the right youngsters in, and, we were getting our ass fucking spanked, et cetera, and, yeah. We were raising, a lot of questions about our playing list. And at that exact same time, Geelong were flying. I think they won, maybe 11 on the trot to start the season. And they had so many sort of young players coming through. And not necessarily high draft picks either. They had Tom Stewart, who was plucked from fucking South Bowen in the GFL. They had Jack Henry, who was a rookie, got overlooked in the main draft. Grime Myers, he came a little bit later, but they just seem to have this knack of being able to have these young players coming through that we weren't seeing that same progress with ours. And I saw Jimmy Bartel before this game at the MCG, and I just sort of said to, and he's such an engaging man, Jimmy Bartel, but I just said to him, mate, the fucking cats are flying. You must be just like, because he come through under Stephen Wells. Stephen Wells, obviously their recruiting guy, and recruited that famous group of Bartel and Gary Ablett and Stevie J and Chapman and all those players that came through, and they had those multiple flags. And I said, he's doing it again, Jimmy. You're going to have to build a statue to Stephen Wells, because, and those are my words, you're going to have to build a statue out the front of Cardinia Park for this guy, because he is the fucking guru. And Jimmy just sort of laughed, and he said to me, yeah, look, there's no doubt that he's got an eye for talent. He's got no doubt he's got an eye for talent, but you've got to understand that Geelong, okay, the team that I played for, okay, their imprimatur, their one wood, so to speak, is their ability to put so much resources and money into player development. So their main focus is one, okay, obviously getting the talent through the door, and they will back themselves. It doesn't matter if they get a rookie, it doesn't matter if they get a player from the local leagues, a bloke from Ireland. They will back their development, okay? They will back the people they've got in charge of bringing these guys through, okay? And they're prepared to do that. And that's what he said to me. This is why Geelong have been able to be so successful over a long period of time. And whether that translates into flags, okay, which it has, it's been a bit of a drought for them, but they were always in the mix because they spend so much time and effort into development. So it's always stuck with me, that comment from Jimmy, and that's where we're at now. And I think we need to, this is a call to arms from me. You can see it differently, but I'm not throwing our young players under the bus because they mightn't be reaching the expectations that we would hope from higher draft picks. Okay, I truly believe that most of them and all of them, okay, when Sauce took over, is still at the football club, except I think I looked through the list. The only one that's not there that's been delisted is Stephen Kerr. I might be wrong there, but the ones taken in the main draft are still there, okay? And all of them at some time have shown that they can play, okay? They can play, all right? So it's about, for us, I think it took us a long time to, one, embrace the draft and go with youngsters, but then it's now taken us a bit of time through this period to go, fucking hang on, we've got all these kids here, but we're not actually developing them how we should be. So, and that's just not about developing the ones who are taken pick 63 or taken as a rookie. It's about developing the ones who come in with so much talent as well. And that takes me back to my point about education. Now, if I take my eye off the kid in the classroom who is an A-grade student, and is, to me appears to be just doing well and just focus on the kids who are struggling, then I'm not doing the person who's doing really well any justice. Okay, I might as well not even be educating them. So a case in point would be someone like Sam Walsh, #1 draft pick, comes to the Cook Football Club with these huge raps. Okay, we've never seen a youngster come to this football club with such maturity, his work ethic. He's just amazing. And this isn't something which was developed from an AFL club. This is just something which appears to be obviously got great parents, but something that's almost innate with Sam Walsh, that he has that drive. But what we're seeing now is that Sam this year is clearly struggling in his second year. Okay, he is struggling. All right, for whatever reason. So last year he was probably just left alone. I'm not saying he was left alone, but because he was so good and because he was so mature, there might have, this like the A-grade student, but now he's clearly struggling. This is now the time that development at the football club becomes important. Now, in the past, I don't think that was the case with us. So I talk about Mark Murphy, I talk about Matthew Cruiser, I talk about Bryce Gibbs, all #1 draft picks who I all think have never really were developed in the right way. Okay, they came in with huge ability and were really pretty much left to their own devices. Now, the next period for Sam Walsh is going to be vitally important behind the scenes, as it is with all our players, okay? As it is with all our young players. Now, I'm really confident, okay, now that we've got the platform in place to do that. Has it happened longer than we would have hoped it to happen? Maybe, okay? But moving forward, I think we've we've slowly started to think that this is really important. Now, there's some few key appointments, okay, to me that makes me confident, and confident as well going into such an unknown, which is the hub, okay, away from the comforts of home into a foreign environment. And I'm really confident that the blokes that have been appointed behind the scenes are really equipped to handling this, okay, because this is going to be vital over the next, the next 6 weeks at the very least. So the first appointment is obviously Andrew Russell. high-profile appointment to the football club. Huge amount of success at Hawthorn. Every time we listen to Andrew Russell speak, we are pretty much blown away. But it's no bullshit with Andrew Russell, okay? The reason why we're blown away because he keeps it real, okay? He keeps it real. So we've invested a lot of money and a lot of time into Andrew Russell, obviously as the high performance, director of high performance, to oversee pretty much the whole football club in regards to the way the players prepare themselves, okay, which is vitally important. There's no doubt we've cut corners in the past, and there's no doubt that we've had high draft picks come through that have come into the system, not maximised their potential and just gone, okay, and it's no coincidence, okay, and it's got a lot to do with the people we've put in charge behind the scenes. And I am so confident with Andrew Russell. And a clear example of this would be Tom Williamson, okay? Probably to the clubs, they probably admit that he came back a little bit too early last year, but Russell was so quick to go, okay, let's just put the kid on ice, build his confidence, build his body. And we're sitting back, most of the supporters going, oh, he's fucking finished, we'll never see him again, blah, blah, blah. But the facts of the matter is that this bloke, he knows what he's doing, okay, with the young players and the older players as well. And we need to give Andrew Russell time and I don't think we're going to see the benefits of this until 2 or 3 years' time, but we're now seeing Tom Williamson come back a completely different, not so much a different player, but completely different in terms of his confidence in the body. And we're going to reap the benefits of that. Maybe not this year, maybe not even next year, but when he's got 60 to 70 games under his belt, we're going to see a very, very good footballer because of the work, the development behind the scenes of someone like Andrew Russell, which I think is just vitally important. So that's just one appointment that we've done. We really, wanted someone to come in who knew what they were doing in that regard. So the second appointment that I want to speak about is Luke Power. As I said, it's one thing bringing in the talent into the club, but you've got to maximise that talent. How do you maximise that? Is actually investing in the players in regards to relationships, getting to know them. We often hear making them the better people. But ultimately we want them to be better footballers. Now, clearly, I don't know Luke Power, but what we do know is he plays 300 games. He's a 3-time premiership player. He's been in charge of the elite talent at the AFL Academy for the last 3 years, and at least the club have put someone in that role to oversee our emerging players coming through the system. Okay, so let's be confident behind the scenes. The blokes, the kids that are playing in the scratch matches are being looked after. Okay, let's not rush them in because I'm confident they're being looked after behind the scenes. Okay, with someone like the appointment of Luke Power. The third one I want to speak about is, and this one comes a little bit from left field, and this has got a lot to do with how much money you've got to spend in the soft cap, because obviously, someone like Luke Power and Andrew Russell come at a price. Because they're highly regarded. But someone like Daniel O'Keefe, who I listened to on the weekend in a match interview which we conducted for K-Rock Football, I think he's a real bright young talent in regards to coaching, but more importantly, a bright young talent in regards to developing youngsters. He's been in the Caper now for 8 years, came through the AFL system at Sydney. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to fulfil that potentially he had as a high draft pick because of injuries, but he's gone along the coaching path, and he's had 8 years of coaching, Geelong Falcon premiership coach. He's worked with, obviously Sam Walsh before, and I just think it's a really wise and smart move on our behalf to have someone young, enthusiastic, and obviously a level of empathy for these youngsters. He's been there, done that. I think it's just another really nice move by the football club behind the scenes that we don't often look at from a supporter point of view. We just look at the smaller picture, which is what is happening on the field. But I think we should be really confident that this appointment's a really good one at this stage. And only time will tell. Okay, only time will tell. The fourth one is Henry Playfair. Now, a lot of people have said to me, what's Playfair doing here? What is his role? Teague needs a right-hand man in regards to strategies and game day strategies. Who is that? Maybe that's something we need to look at in the future. But Henry Playfair, I mean, we can talk about development of the players and the youngsters on our list, which is important. But more importantly, in this day and age, it's about the development of the coaches as well. The actual people put in charge to develop these youngsters. How are these coaches being developed? Now, Henry Playfair is another one. He's come through a very successful period, obviously a player himself at Geelong. Spent time under John Longmire at Sydney. Spent time looking after St Kilda's defence, which was at the time, they were doing really well. And now he's in virtually as an overseer to the whole coaching staff, and in particular, David Teague. Now, one of the things I've noticed with Teague is that I am seeing a significant change in his persona and the way he wants to be perceived. So I think he needed someone in his camp in that regards, and maybe Brendan Bolton didn't have that at his expense as well. So I think Henry Playfair overseeing the whole coaching department in regards to the way we want to coach is a really important appointment as well. And the final one, and I know Eddie Betts is going to cop some criticism. I could just see it externally, internally. Well, when I say internally, from a supporter point of view, why did we get him? He's finished. We should have got Butler from St Kilda and blah, blah, blah. And, they're all valid points, I suppose. Dan Butler could have come to Carlton. He's flying at the moment. But I think Eddie... Let's look at the bigger picture with Eddie as well. I mean, and this has been said before, but he's clearly past his best. They're going to be cameo performances by Eddie, but we can just not underestimate the importance of Eddie from a development point of view for our younger players. We just can't underestimate it. And if we've got him over on small biggies at the moment in regards to money, I think it's just a really, really wise move. You can make an argument that he's probably not going to be in our best 22, and you can make an argument that he might be playing next year. But as far as a development point of view behind the scenes, I think it's been a fantastic addition to our football club. And hopefully Eddie is in for the long haul with Carlton, and that we can, that we will find a spot for him, behind the scenes moving forward. So to cut this short, well, not cutting it short, we're now nearly half an hour in. Let's just think about the bigger picture. I can see it. I can honestly see it. I'm confident that we're doing the right things. And as I said, there's going to be some problems along the way, and we're not going to get everything right, and it's not perfect. Okay, nothing is perfect. I will continue to critique every performance. A win, a loss, I'll continue, performances, young players, old players, whoever they may be. Another time I might go through the list and see where the problems may lay. But for right now, I think the club are doing everything in their power to get it right behind the scenes in regards to development. I think we should be very confident with our players going into a hub. We've got the right blokes behind the scenes doing the job. That's about it for now. I don't think there was anything else I wanted to say other than my face is just about to explode because it's so hot in this My Blue Heaven Batcave with the heater going at the moment. But we're just saying like we're going an eternity to wait before we take on the Western Bulldogs. What a game that's going to be for us. This is one, I know I keep saying that I'm looking forward to all the games, but this one for me to see, and I've been highly critical of Cripper of late. Obviously I love the guy, but I've been critical of his performance. But what better way for him to respond than up against someone like Marcus Bontempelli this week against the Dogs? They're flying at the moment. They look a really good football team. Might impress me. And I'll do a preview of that game later on in the week. But what they impressed me about Western Bulldogs against North Melbourne is I think North Melbourne are the hardest team in the competition. They are fucking brutal. They might be highly skillful, but they are brutal. And the dogs were able to respond to all of that. So this is going to be a dogfight, and if we're not up for the challenge physically and mentally, then yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult task for us. But I'm genuinely excited to see the way we respond and the way we cope with life in the hub. If you like these videos, guys, please press the notification button. Please share around. Get your friends to subscribe. Once again, I don't make any apologise for misleading you today, but I hope that makes it just a bit clearer in regards to where I'm sitting. You mightn't be sitting or seeing it in that same manner. For now, it's goodbye.